In 2013, a film was released that told the story of one of the most deadly conflicts in history. The battle between two rival South American tribes resulted in nearly half of all people in the region being wiped out by warfare, disease, and famine. But what if this conflict wasn't really over land or resources, but instead over something much more simple? What if it was over thirst? Welcome to my channel. And today we're answering the extraordinary question, could the deadliest war in history have been fought over water? But before we answer it, let's start at the beginning. South America is home to some of the world's most incredible indigenous cultures. The Inca Empire stretched from modern-day Colombia to Argentina, while the Chibcha people were known for their mastery of goldwork and skilled craftsmanship. But the warrior is not alone. Surrounding him are dozens of smaller figures, each with their arms raised in submission or with their heads decapitated. The answer, paradoxically, lies in the very nature of the desert itself. Beneath the seemingly barren sands of the Gran Chaco, there is a vast aquifer of fresh water, a hidden oasis in the heart of the arid landscape. The Mataco and Tobas were skilled warriors, and they were able to hold off the Chaco for many years. From here, they were able to expand their influence and power, and they soon dominated the Gran Chaco. Smallpox, a highly contagious and deadly disease, had arrived in South America carried by European explorers. With the Chaco weakened by disease, the Mataco and Tobas launched a series of attacks, aiming to take back control of the aquifer and end the Chaco's dominance once and for all. For the Chaco people, it seemed as though they had been betrayed by fate. After years of fighting to conquer the Gran Chaco, they were now on the verge of losing everything. This outbreak would have a devastating impact on the Chaco people who had no immunity to the disease. But it is the story of the Chaco War that truly captures the imagination. Yet the Chaco emerged victorious, only to face a new and even deadlier enemy, smallpox. The disease spread like wildfire, killing thousands and leaving the Chaco weakened and vulnerable. Their enemies seized the opportunity to strike back, launching a series of attacks that pushed the Chaco to the brink of destruction. This conflict, known locally as the War of Thirst, pitted the Chaco against their rivals, the Mataco and Tobas, in a desperate struggle for survival. Which one would you rather live in? But the defense was futile. The Chaco were outnumbered and outgunned, and eventually they were forced to flee, abandoning their homes and possessions. Their sudden disappearance from the historical record has captivated the imaginations of historians and archaeologists alike, and their violent struggles for control of the Gran Chaco's water resources have been brought to life through the discovery of mysterious geoglyphs. In the end, the Chaco were defeated, and their civilization collapsed, leaving behind a legacy of mystery and intrigue. Control of the underground aquifer that sustained life in the arid landscape was worth fighting for, and the Chaco's fierce determination to protect their access to water led them to engage in brutal conflicts with their rivals. Despite their eventual defeat and the collapse of their civilization, the Chaco left behind a rich cultural heritage that continues to fascinate and inspire us today. Control of the underground aquifer that sustained life in the arid landscape was the ultimate prize. As the virus spread across the empire, it killed thousands, leaving entire communities vulnerable and defenseless. But the Chaco's victory over their rivals came at a cost. The wars and conflicts that had raged across the region for decades had taken a heavy toll on a local population. It was here that the final stand took place, a desperate battle between the Chaco and their enemies to determine the fate of the Gran Chaco forever. As their enemies closed in, the Chaco were forced to flee, abandoning their homes and possessions behind them. Many were killed or captured, while others managed to escape into the wilderness, becoming outcasts in their own homeland. Entire villages had been wiped out, and the landscape was littered with the bodies of fallen warriors. However, as the Chaco grew in power, they were eventually able to defeat their enemies and claim the aquifer for themselves. Their civilization collapsed, and their people were scattered, leaving behind a legacy of mystery and intrigue. For centuries, historians struggled to understand what had happened to the Chaco, and many theories were proposed. Some believed that the Chaco had simply migrated to other parts of South America, while others blamed their demise on the Spanish conquistadors. However, recent archaeological evidence has shed new light on the Chaco's disappearance, suggesting that it was not the work of outside forces, but rather the result of internal conflict and disease. This victory was a turning point in Chaco history, and it marked the beginning of their empire in the Gran Chaco. This underground river system, known locally as the Acuífero, is a vital source of water for the region, providing a lifeline for plants and animals alike. It is also a strategic asset for any tribe seeking to dominate the Chaco. These geoglyphs are not just works of art, but a graphic record of the violence that gripped the Chaco people during their final days. They built large communities with raised wooden houses and established extensive trade networks throughout South America. However, around 1000 CE, the Chaco began to mysteriously disappear. Scattered across the landscape are hundreds of mysterious geoglyphs, each one a testament to the Chaco's skilled craftsmanship and deep connection to their environment. Without access to this precious resource, it is difficult to grow crops or raise livestock, making it challenging to sustain a large population. The Chaco people knew this well, and they were willing to go to great lengths to secure a reliable source of water. As they expanded their territory, they encountered the indigenous tribes already living in the region, including the Mataco and the Tobas. These encounters were not peaceful, and soon the Chaco were engaged in a bitter struggle for control of the life-giving waters of the aquifer. These geoglyphs are not merely decorative, but serve as a chilling record of the battles that raged across the region. Their settlements were abandoned and their civilization seemingly vanished into thin air. But perhaps no tribe is more fascinating than the Chaco, an ancient civilization that flourished between 800 and 1200 CE in what is now Bolivia and Paraguay. Some theories suggested that they had migrated to other regions of South America, while others proposed that they had been wiped out by rival tribes. However, recent evidence suggests that something much more sinister may have been at play. The Chaco people are believed to have originated in tropical lowland forests, where they developed a unique culture and lifestyle centered around agriculture. For centuries, historians and archaeologists were baffled by the sudden disappearance of the Chaco people. Deep in the Paraguayan wilderness lies a stark reminder of the Chaco people's violent past. One of the most prominent geoglyphs is the warrior with a knife, a towering figure etched into the landscape with an axe raised high above its head. But why were the Chaco so desperate to control this arid land? The key to surviving in the harsh environment of the Gran Chaco is water. While the Chaco were a formidable force, they faced fierce resistance from their rivals. With control of the aquifer, the Chaco were able to establish several major cities in the region, including the capital city of Charras, which became the center of their empire. In the midst of this devastation, a new threat emerged, one that would prove to be even more deadly than the Chaco's enemies. To make matters worse, the Chaco's enemies saw the outbreak as an opportunity to strike back. As the attacks intensified, the Chaco were pushed back further and further, eventually retreating to their capital city of Charras. What followed was a siege of unimaginable brutality. The Chaco defended their city with all their might, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. In the end, the Chaco were unable to hold on to their empire in the Gran Chaco. The discovery of the geoglyphs in the Paraguayan wilderness has provided a glimpse into the Chaco's violent past, showing how they fought fiercely to control the valuable water resources of the Gran Chaco. The war was brutal and bloody, with entire villages being wiped out and the landscape scarred by violence. As the attacks intensified, the Chaco were forced to retreat to their capital city of Charras, where they made a final stand against their enemies. Today, the Chaco people are remembered as one of the most fascinating and enigmatic civilizations of ancient South America. The Chaco War, also known as the War of Thirst, is a reminder of the lengths to which people will go to survive in the face of environmental challenges. Now you know, click here to watch. The most powerful tribe in history or click here to watch Ancient Rome vs. Modern New York.